Thousands of Palestinians have been reportedly killed after the Israeli forces shell an ambulance convoy transferring wounded patients from the Al-Shifa hospital to the Rafah crossing. Dominica began the celebration for the 45th anniversary of its independence on Friday. And thousands of Afghans are trapped on the borderline between their country and Pakistan as humanitarian aid agencies warn of the severity of the crisis. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. Thousands of Palestinians have been reportedly killed after Israeli forces shell an ambulance convoy transferring wounded patients from the Al-Shifa hospitals to the Rafah crossing. The victims of the attack include Al-Shifa patients, displaced people, women and children. More than 40,000 Palestinians are sheltered in the medical institution after their homes were bombed by the occupation forces. The incident adds one more case of the attacks on civilians by the Israeli forces, preceded by the recent shelling of the vicinity of the Al-Aqsa hospitals southwest of Gaza and one near the Indonesian hospital in the city of Beit Hali. Following the attack by the Israeli occupation forces at the entrance of the Al-Shifa hospital, the journalist is a member of the Gaza government media office, Haytham Harara, was reportedly killed. The last publication by Harara read, "We will not get out of this and we will not go away. They will only see resilience and faith. If we have to leave, it will be only to return to our occupied land or to paradise." The situation in the hospitals in Gaza deteriorates every day. While the attacks of the Israeli army continues against Gaza, the number of wounded and deaths keeps growing. For more details, let's listen to what our correspondent in Gaza, Hura Higazi, has to share.
We are in the emergency guard of the teleSUR hospital in the governorate of Khan Yunis. Just a few minutes ago, the Zionist occupation army bombed the Arab Emirates neighborhood near the hospital where we are. And right now, ambulances and medical teams are proceeding to bring the victims and the wounded of this explosion. This is the shelling of the home of the Awad family, where the Israeli occupation army has bombed without warning. As we can see, the wounded are starting to arrive. As we can see, is an elderly woman who has been bombed directly while she was in her home. According to what the medical teams inform us, here is yet another victim, another woman. As we are seeing, we are witnessing that women, children, elderly people are being attacked by the Israeli army. Also still, the medical teams are working to bring more wounded, more victims. Also, so far, we have been informed that there are 11 Palestinians who have been lost their life in that explosion. Several of them are children. Here is another victim. As we can see, it is also a child. As we can see, he has been pulled out from under the rubble, and it is clear the difficult situation he is in. But thanks God, he is still alive, but his situation is quite difficult. The doctors are now trying to find out who he is. As I said, this is the bombing of a house near the hospital where we are. Another victim more, as we are seeing. Every minute they are proceeding to bring more victims. All of them have been taken out from under the rubble. We cannot recognize the exact number, but as we can see, the great part of these victims are all women, women of a high age, people who are not guilty of anything. And however, the army of Israel proceeds to bomb them in a direct and free way, and now they are proceeding to bomb them in the light of day. Normally, these massacres, the Israeli army always proceed to carry them out late at night, but now Israel is carrying out all these massacres in broad daylight, and yet so far nobody, neither the international community nor any organization, has done anything to stop this genocide, even though, as I said, they are carrying out in broad daylight before the eyes of the whole world. However, there is no one to stop this massacre that Israel is carrying out against the Palestinian people. Here, where we are in the intensive care unit section, we can see a tension in the atmosphere. As I said before, people, even the relatives of these people, are proceeding to come to this section to be able to identify the victims, to identify the wounded. As I said, it was a surprise attack in broad daylight. Nobody expected this attack specifically near this hospital. As we can see, this whole area is full of wounded. It is full of children, even because most of these victims of these wounded are children. They are women, even elderly. We proceed to see earlier that there were about three elderly people who have been pulled out from under the rubble. Quite a critical situation, quite a desperate situation. Here's leaving the Nasser Hospital in the governorate of Khan Yunis. We will now proceed to talk to one of the children who was the victim of this deadly attack a few seconds ago. Hello, son. How are you? Tell me what happened. Where were you and what happened?
I was in the square playing with some children and suddenly I heard the sound of airplanes. They launched a missile over us and I saw myself under the rubble. I started to scream and someone pulled me out and put me in a yellow car and they brought me here. I could see my little brother here and my grandfather. They are alive.
Are you okay?
Yes.
As we can see, the children were playing at home. Even their brother, a baby less than 1 year old, was also a victim of this deadly attack. I will try to speak with the father. Please, tell me what happened. Please tell me what happened.
I was in my house and suddenly we heard a missile fall and I ran. I looked around the house and saw my son on the floor and a stone on the top of him. I carried him and came rushing in my car.
As we can see, the father of the family was outside the house, and immediately when he heard the sound of the explosion, he came back and found his newborn son under the ruins, and on the top of him was a stone. So we are witnesses. The whole world must be witnesses to the crime Israel is carrying out against these children. What is the fault of these children under 10 years old? And what is the guilt of this baby being deliberately bombed by Israeli warplanes?
From Lebanon, the leader of the Islamic resistance movement, Hezbollah, Sayed Hassan Nasrallah, gave his first speech since the start of the Israeli war against the Palestinian people in Gaza. Nasrallah stressed that the battle of the storm of Al-Aqsa has spread to more than one front and arena. As a part of the ceremony in honor of the martyrs on the road to Al-Aqsa and in defense of Lebanon, Hassan Nasrallah expressed his support for the Gaza Strip and the fight of the Palestinian people against the Israeli side. Analysts consider that this speech marks the differences in the succession of the conflict. For his part, a spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces has stated that it will not be convenient for Hezbollah to take direct part in the conflict, since if it does so, that the Israeli response will be severe and very violent. Palestinians were waiting for the word of Hassan Nasrallah, Secretary General of Hezbollah. On the other hand, Israeli attacks target several UN schools, killing dozens of Palestinians. Our correspondent Noor Harrison has more details in the following report.
Palestinians were very interested of the Hassan Nasrallah speech because they feel that they have been let down by the leaders of the Arab world, and they take him as a big leader that millions are listening to his word, and they also know his position from Gaza and his position over the Hamas and the Al-Qassam brigades. And while hundreds of Palestinians were gathering to watch his speech, the Israeli forces strike several places here in the Gaza Strip. Actually, it's a very sad day for the Palestinians here in Gaza, because most of the latest Israeli strikes on Gaza targeted UN schools where hundreds of Palestinian families are sheltering. At the same time, an Israeli airstrike hit an ambulance on the front gate of the Al-Shifa hospital, which is Gaza's main hospital. The Israeli forces also shelled at homes surrounding the Indonesian hospital in northern Gaza. Of course, this means that hundreds of Palestinians were killed and injured. Tomorrow morning, the Palestinian Health Ministry will release the latest number of the death toll. However, this is considered as one of the saddest days for the Palestinian people, not only because of the high number of death toll, but also because of the nature of the Israeli attacks on Palestinian gatherings, Palestinians taking shelter inside UN schools, Palestinians standing in front of bakeries, and Palestinians and civilians in markets. Nur Harazin, teleSUR, Gaza.
Let's take a very short break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Dominica began the celebration for the 45th anniversary of its independence on Friday. The anniversary is being celebrated under the motto Ano Chiwaled, which means let's celebrate. The celebration and season of the cultural activities lasts 4 weeks. The festivities celebrates music, dance, clothing, and gastronomy. The Caribbean community CARICOM highlighted in a message Dominica's leadership role in advancing the organization's agenda and promoting regional integration by congratulating it on the 45th anniversary of its independence.
Every day, depressing international news cause a sense of fear and uncertainty among Caribbean people, who know only too well that we are never immune to the impacts of global events. To successfully navigate and resist global events which threaten our growth and survival, we must strengthen the relationships and cooperation that flow from regional bonds. Our Caribbean brothers and sisters share a common history, unique experiences and challenges, but with the understanding that we must work together towards a shared, common, and prosperous future.
In this context, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro took to his account on the social network X to greet the brothers and sisters of Dominica. In this way, the Venezuelan head of state highlighted the ties of friendship that brings together Venezuelans and Dominicans, and described the people of the island nation as fighting and courageous. The government of Venezuela describes the statement of Secretary of Organization of American States Luis Almagro concerning historical rights of Venezuela as fatal. Vice President of Venezuela Delcy Rodriguez assured that Almagro proved his deep ignorance of Latin American history, noting that ahead of the Guyana's attempt to immanence Venezuela through International Court of Justice, he will find the state rejection of Venezuelans. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez ratified Bolivarian sentences of peace diplomacy to provide a peaceful solution in compliance with the Geneva Agreement. The Panamanian legislature finally desisted and will not repeal the mining contract law that has generated strong mobilizations in the country. It will let the Supreme Court of Justice decide on the other matter. The chamber with approved government majority decided this option with 63 of the 71 votes of the National Assembly, with 1 against and 1 abstention.
In this pass of the Supreme Court of Justice, the search for a solution to our conflict, including the ruling of the Supreme Court of Justice, will give the country the opportunity to defend itself internationally against any economic attack made by the mining company against Panama. The actions taken to date represent the search for a solution to this problem, and the Assembly has joined this call that has been made by experts, by the people in the street, understanding that there are still some who support the repeal of the law.
Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch new interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. For financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. Thousands of Afghans are trapped on the borderline between their country and Pakistan. Humanitarian aid agencies warn of the severity of the crisis. Third, Afghan families are out in the open after the Pakistan ordered its security forces to expel or deport their neighbors. The Norwegian Refugee Council and other organizations announced that these are entire families trying to flee the hunger, repression, and the violence of the Taliban government. On Friday, textile factories in Bangladesh shut down as several workers demonstrated to demand better pay. Police informed that in Dhaka, the capital of the nation, and in other industrial cities, many factories faced mobilizations and work stoppages. On the other hand, local authorities report clashes between protesters and law enforcement. Russian energy giant Gazprom will continue to increase its cooperation with several Central Asian countries. The new package of coercive measures imposed by Western countries against Russia has served as an incentive for the new investment market. Axios Maryland Gazprom's general director informed during his speech at the International Gas Forum in St. Petersburg that Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan plans to increase cooperation with Moscow in the next 15 years. In Vietnam, more than 4 dogs, including a litter of 10-day-old puppies, were set free from a slaughterhouse on Friday after the owner quitted the dog meat trade. An estimated 5 million dogs are killed for meat every year in Vietnam, the second highest in the world after China, with some believing that eating the meat can help drive away the bad luck, while others consider it a delicacy. Authorities in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City have urged people not to consume that meat, but the trade continue.
We have a vet training program here as well, so all of the dogs can be provided with the care, spayed, neutered, vaccinated, any other treatments that they need, and of course given a lot of affection to help them overcome any trauma that they've undergone. So here they'll receive all the rehabilitation they need until they can find their forever families. And it's a big problem, and what we know is a huge problem in Vietnam is pet theft. A significant number of dogs that are being supplied to the dog slaughterhouses are stolen pets. And whilst we've seen the government take some measures in increasing penalties for those who steal pet animals, we still know that it's a big problem with lack of enforcement. So we're hoping to work.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share our newscasts and contribute to provide an alternative news sources of the latest world events, daily life stories of the people of the South, and break the hegemonic media dominance. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For teleSUR English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.